The Giggler, Scotty Scoop. I'm Logan. This is Mostly Superheroes. Get ready for nostalgia overload at a look at the reboot series that has taken over any Marvel fan and a lot of new fans. X-Men 97 is on the table. This is Mostly Superheroes. Oh yeah, welcome to Mostly Superheroes. Just kidding, we're not going to do the show in that weird voice.
I think we can the whole time.
Mostly Superheroes.
Skibbity down. Oh, jeez.
That one I love. I've been waiting to play that one for a while.
That was incredibly jarring.
Welcome back to the studio. We are having too much fun. Hope you enjoy the Patreon pre-show. That's for as little as $1 a month. You get that episode. Sometimes as much as a week early. You can get it really early and no ads. I mean, we have great ads on this show. We're trying to make ads not boring and actually relevant to what we truly do here locally, and I hope you guys are feeling that. But if you don't like ads, you just want to listen to the show, $1 a month. That's the Mostly membership, ad-free, early, exclusive, mostlysuperheroes.com/support. Welcome back to the podcast. We have a exciting one for you today. I was not kidding in the intro. I've been aching to talk about this show. And today's Thursday, X-Men 97 finale dropped yesterday on Wednesday. So this is fresh. All of us have rewatched it today. Let's do a round table and welcome the fellas. Welcome back to the studio. Andy, Mr. The Giggler.
Good to be here, man. I love this chair. Especially thank you for switching it back to the Joker chair.
Yeah.
That's where I belong.
I've been waiting for you to say something on the podcast about that for a long time.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you have the Joker background. You know, we both sit here by Keaton, and yeah, secret lab chairs. Thanks again, Dad. That's my dad.
Yeah.
Just helping out the podcast.
Shout out to my old friend from work.
Your old friend from work.
Dad.
Dad. Hey, everyone, my dad's friend, Scotty Scoop.
You know, I think you need to get like an old Jack Nicholson or Heath Ledger laughing soundbite to play for Giggler when you introduce him.
Like, just like a...
Yeah.
like from the movie. All right, so I don't have to even... Now we have one.
Yeah.
You just saved me
Yeah,
from going to royalty-free websites to try to find that movie cut. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for coming in. We've recorded a lot this week. We just had a big episode at the Gramophone locally with Courtney. How was that?
Yeah, super fun.
You guys have a good time?
Yeah.
And then we checked out that new spot afterwards that she recommended in town. I thought we'd
Three Little Monkeys.
Yeah, Three Little Monkeys, a little like what you eating shout out. Kind of like a sub.
Pizza.
Pizza.
I had a quarter pizza. It was nice.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And it's fitting for today with X-Men 97 because it's like 90s overload. And
Oh, yeah.
They got the Sega out, the Nintendos and pinball machines, arcade games. It was pretty cool.
Had the late 90s, 2000s soundtrack playing on the TV.
Oh my gosh, they were playing Gavin DeGraw, and I was right at home. I was right back in my maroon 98 Blazer that I drove around for a little while.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was the year like 2010.
Little Logan. Little Logan.
Like that's important. This is normally where we would shout out a sponsor of the podcast, and this week we're going to shout out Mostly Superheroes. So you guys can tell we've been doing a lot of sponsorships, a lot of local people and beyond reaching out to the show, asking us if they can be sponsors. A lot of OG people that you guys have heard since day one stepping up and helping us out. And this is just one of those times where I say and stress the independent part of independent podcast. We're just joking about we do it all. You know, Scotty, Andy, me, Carrie, and once in a while some help from friends from other places like Sam from Team Jakey, Dan, coming in for the Star Wars stuff. Like, it's all on our own time. We figure out how to make it work. And we've really tried to up the quality, bring some focused content for you, just like we have today. So if you're interested in supporting a podcast like us, you can do that at mostlysuperheroes.com/sponsor. Would love to hear from you. You can contact us. You can learn about who we are, who are the people are like you tuning into our podcast. And we'd love to talk to you. So with that, let's get into some Marvel stuff today. It is really, really exciting. X-Men 97 is on the table.
Fan mail.
You might remember a call we had a few weeks ago from Jose in Puerto Rico about X-Men 97. Well, he's back. He's seen the show, and he called and left us a message about the finale and what he thought. Here is Jose right now.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Greetings from Puerto Rico. This is Jake Ravelo07. Thank you for featuring me a couple of weeks ago for an X-Men 97 review. It's like a first reaction of the season. Amazing. The season was amazing, mind-blowing. I would say episode 5 and this episode and probably last week's episode, I would say they're the top 3. Gotta see it and gotta see and think about it more. I need answers. When is the next season coming? Is it gonna be called X-Men 97 or X-Men 98? I need answers. When is it coming? Like, I need it now. That was a great season finale. So yeah, I would say that's mostly it. That will be mostly it. Looking forward to listening to this review and listening to you guys' review and see you in the next one. Greetings from Puerto Rico. Stay safe.
Jose.
Brings up a good question.
Yeah, I mean,
What do we name in the next season?
So, I mean, we haven't given it yet, but we'll go ahead and give it right now. Spoiler alert for X-Men 97. Like, we did a precursor to this episode with what you need to watch to see that. If you're like, I just came to learn about the show, there's an episode for that. So stop what you're doing, go to mostlysuperheroes.com, check it out, then come back for this big finale. Spoiler alert. Yeah, there's a time jump, okay? 6 months. 6 months. So technically, could be 97. Maybe they keep it 97, and that kind of tells you, like, well, we're here for at least 6 more months. That'd be kind of a good time period for a TV show. You know, even with what they're doing time travel-wise, that's going to be what determines, I think, that title, Jose. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I don't know. I think just for, I don't know, a lot of that will be decided probably on, like, how they put it on Netflix. Like, I don't know. They're not like on Disney
Netflix?
I'm sorry, Disney Plus.
Wow.
Like, they're not going to make a whole...
Did you even watch the show, Andy?
No.
I think we're going to have some stuff for AI to fix later.
Thing, and it's just going to be a season 2.
Yes.
So it's going to be under X-Men 97. You can't
You're
call
like
it
X-Men
something separately different, or it's going to be under a different...
No, you can. You know, they got
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a season 2. Then
No,
it'd be
no,
a whole
no.
separate thing.
They're doing the same thing with movies that they did with books, that they do with everything. You can just, like, colon a title now. So, like, you had, like, Dexter New Blood.
That's true.
You also had, like, Pretty Little Liars, whatever they're doing now. It's like, it's on HBO, and they got, like, a second title that's bigger than Pretty Little Liars. So you saw how when they changed they already did it with this show.
Mm-hmm.
They made it X-Men 97, and they just, like, did it at the end with the title when they run it. They're like, we'll just update that thing as we go.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do this show for 10 years, it's going to change. Because I think they will. I mean, I'm hoping.
You don't think
That's
if they
true.
run it for 10 years, it'll just be X-Men 97 season 10?
That would be wild.
It would be weird. I don't
You
know.
just spend 10 years in that 1 year. Like, I guess, you could because of time travel.
Here's the thing.
You could have no time pass at all.
In the comic books, everything takes place in like a sliding scale of time. You know, if you notice, like, if you really stuck to the stuff at this point, you know, Magneto would be like 100.
Oh, right. Yeah. They talk about, like,
You know?
how old he'd actually be in the 90s.
Right.
But, like, maybe his mutation allows him to slowly age or something.
Right. But then you've got, you know, Professor X as well.
He's also a mutant. I think these mutants kind of just live a little longer.
They all just have that slow aging effect.
I'll tell you this show kind of taught me that Cyclops can kind of get beat around a lot. Like, you didn't know Cyclops was so tough, but he's like as tough as Captain America, it seems.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, it's not just the blast. Like,
Everybody's
he's got,
like a little more durable. For sure.
Exactly. Like, automatically by being a mutant, you have this level of, like, durability built in. And, like, maybe you don't age as much.
Yeah, I mean, you see some of these guys take some pretty good shots.
All right, for Jose, let's lay it all on the line right now. 1 day after the finale, I'm going to guess that the next season will be called X-Men 97 Season 2, or actually, my official guess, just because I'm, like, rolling the dice, right? X-Men 97 Part 1. Then it'll be, like, Who knows? But they're not going to change them. They're not going to change the show mid-season title.
No.
That's a great question,
so.
Jose. What's your guess, Scotty?
I'm going just season 2. X-Men 97, season 2.
Jose is all of us. I think the most important thing he said is immediately we need season 2.
Okay, here's what I'll say. I am excited for when the ticker does go up to like 98 because I think that's cool. I think like you just keep it going. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Like why not? And like for me, it's like it allows it. It went 92, 90, 93, 94, 95, 96. Like you might as well just keep going. And I don't know, you could really do some interesting stuff with like these X-Men like in the 2000s. Like and maybe like they start to grow a little and it gives you like a different nostalgia like 10 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking ahead, Beau.
Please, Beau.
Beau
DeMayo,
the creator who got fired from the show. We'll talk more about that. Jose,
Right.
thanks for calling in, man. Yeah, we have some prizes going on at mostlysuperheroes.com/contests. Go check it out.
The meat.
X-Men 97, to me personally, has been perfect. I mean, really a perfect show. A to Z, 10 episodes, perfect season. I mean, I'll get my rating out of the way. It's a 4.0. Like, I'm not even going to beat around the bush with that. The show is out now on Disney Plus, and it really has taken over the fandom. From the stuff that I follow online, comicbook.coms, the IGNs, the loopers of the Screen Rants, like this has been all people are talking about, and I totally get why. We've had a lot of discussions on the podcast about it, and today is kind of like the full expose. We're going to talk about the story and a lot more. The show, who made it, the finale, the end credits, and the cameos, huge cameos on this TV show, and what's next. Looking ahead to, season 2, inevitable, already confirmed in the works. We'll repeat that and talk about some of the sources later. So first up on the show, we've talked about the maker of it, Beau DeMayo. Not sure if I'm saying it exactly right. This guy is the creator of the show. The craziest thing happened in the world. This guy gets fired from Marvel a week or two before the show premiered. And we know that it was related to OnlyFans. You know, the rumor side of it is it didn't have anything, really sexual on it. And then it did. And like per Disney standards, like he got fired. And that's all we've heard, okay? So outside of that, what is Beau known for? He worked on the writer for The Witcher. Also, The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf looks like an animated project, and Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Never seen it, but
great series.
It looks good.
It is so good.
Okay, confirmed by you.
Yeah,
nice. X-Men 97. I mean, if you go to his IMDb page, and thanks to IMDb for this, there's, I don't know, 6 or 7 more titles. Not a ton.
Mm-hmm.
This was kind of like his big thing. So that's the makers, Marvel Animation, people behind this. And there are a couple different segments of the Marvel enterprise now. I know it's Marvel Studios, Marvel Animation, and I've heard that there is now Marvel Television.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to get their stuff a little focused. I think that's great. Let's talk about the show itself. Focus on the story. Oh, man. The story on this thing is so great. It's sharpened up. The animation style, we've talked about a lot of this already on the podcast. I want to get into just seriously the what's of this. We have all 10 episodes pulled up on the screen, the tiles themselves from Disney Plus. And we've given that spoiler alert, So this picked up X-Men 97 right after the original series. That first episode, To Me, My X-Men, we meet the X-Men. Xavier had just been murdered. Scott is the leader of the X-Men for the first time, and we find out Magneto was left the X-Mansion and all of the X-Men. Like crazy cliffhanger, a lot of stuff with Jean, we think at the time, wanting to leave the X-Men, and Scott dealing with being the leader for the first time. And then we move on to episode 2, Mutant Liberation Begins. So Magneto, he's trying to be a hero. He whips out that super sexy costume from the comics with the big M on the chest.
Love it.
His white flowing hair. We find out about him and Rogue in this crazy sexual relationship they've had over the years that, like, I mean, remind me, was that explored in the first series at all? Like, I can't say that I remember seeing anything.
I don't remember seeing it either. There's people were saying that's a little creepy.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of, yeah, right, because, oh, man,
he
it's
is
such a difference.
He is old.
How old is Rogue, I guess, becomes the question
Yeah.
in 1997. I guess she's like 19 or 20 maybe.
Which I hope a little bit older because they flash back.
Uh-huh.
They flash back to her being with Magneto like before that.
Like during the old days. And it's only his magnetism that allows him to touch her skin. He's literally the only person on Earth that she can touch. And he's forced by the UN to stand trial, and he agrees to do it. This is where Storm takes a bullet for him and loses her powers. What do we learn? Master Mold is back at it, making these big Sentinels. Henry Gyrick is the guy that killed Professor Xavier, and that's who they believe is making these Sentinels. So the UN, is like, they're just putting Magneto on trial for everything he's ever done, and we're at this big thing where this is the answer to one of our trivia questions, I believe, that's listed in the podcast description. What was the group called that attacked the UN?
Friends of Humanity.
Boom, there it is. Okay, so the Friends of Humanity, Scott, help us out again. Who were they? They were like this group of
anti-mutant,
They're anti-mutant.
Haters.
They're haters. Okay, Magneto takes that UN group up to space, says things have got to change. They actually go his way, and they say, cool, Genosha, you can be in the UN, no problem. Episode 3, Fire Made Flesh.
Don't skip over the big ending of episode 2.
The big ending of episode 2 was there's a Jean Grey clone.
Another Jean Grey shows up.
Enters, and episode 3 opens up. There's 2 Jean Greys.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, we find out quickly. Mr. Sinister cloned them at one point. No one knows when. All the way to the end of this show. You don't find out when. So it's like, who was who? Who knows? Who became the Phoenix? Who did all these things?
They determine that the gene that has been there is the clone.
Yeah, because she's
pretty quickly in episode 3.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much immediately, they're like, "Oh, she's the clone because she's a little younger, like genetically."
Did you touch on Storm in that one already?
Yeah, she got shot, lost her powers.
Yes. Gone,
and leaves the X-Men. So, that was a big part of the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Fire Made Flesh episode 3. The team is propelled into a tragic confrontation with an immortal mad scientist. That's Mr. Sinister. We now know her name is Madeline Pryor.
Mm-hmm.
She's the clone of Jean Grey. She had a baby. And Sinister kidnaps this baby.
Wants to run his experiments.
And runs his experiments on
her. And it's why he cloned her in the first place.
This was all the plan all along. She was pregnant when the show started, right? Sinister's like, I got my baby out of this. This is Cable, okay? They send this baby to the future because they don't have the technology to help it.
It's got a techno-organic virus. Running rampant. And Bishop just takes it straight to the future. Yeah.
Just on his arm.
Scott just abandons his child.
How dare he?
Don't any of you know what it feels like to be abandoned? That one that sticks out to me so much.
He's just looking for a friend. He wants somebody who knows how he feels.
Yes. Episode 4. Motendo, Life Death, Part 1. Mojo makes a comeback. It's Jubilee's birthday. He hacks a video game. It brings her in. We meet versions of Jubilee that have been like living for different versions of her life forever and ever. Like an old version of Jubilee that's like 70 that's like teaches her how to play the game and win. Like, this is how you got to win to get out of here. And then Part 2 is Storm's journey to try to get her powers back. She meets up with Forge and is, out there in the desert trying to make it happen. Actually at a bar. They just meet for the first time at a bar. That's a big part of the ending.
A lot of bars in the show. Just meeting at bars.
Yes. And I don't know if we got the big crow in that one.
The adversary, the big owl.
The big owl.
Yeah.
I think so. All right. Let's just get to it. Episode 5. Remember it. We always will. Oh my gosh. Why is that? Now this episode's like 9/11.
Yeah.
Never forget. They're like, what's kind of like never forget, but we can't say that. They're like, remember it. Dude, they nailed that. And he says it, and Genosha, this is such a great episode. This was the entry of Cable for the first time running in. Everybody get out of here.
Yeah.
This is Rogue and Magneto up doing sexy dance.
Oh, yeah. Sky dancing.
This is Gambit getting his heart broken.
Yeah. We get Kurt back.
Kurt, for the first time, just like, what's up, guys?
The Incredible Nightcrawler.
Madeline Pryor's found a home on the board of the UN.
Oh, for sure.
Everything's working out.
Yeah.
Scott has that really uncomfortable, like, high-tension TV interview where he's like, I'm supposed to sit here and be glad that I have to prove to you to be a human.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much saying, like, go F yourself, I love that. That was like a lot of like the tolerance plays on this. I don't even. It's all the way through the end. It's all the way through
We
the end.
get that little insight into Rogue and Magneto's. He can touch her and nobody else can.
And Gambit
sees it, back into the back room, and he's kind of heartbroken.
And these guys are like, we got to go to Genosha, and Gambit's like, I'm going too.
Yeah.
And Cable's running in. Get out, everybody, get out.
Sees his mom.
And they realize you have that psychic connection that she put in there
Yeah.
when he's a baby. He gets ripped from time. Like time just rips him out.
Yeah, pulled
What's
right out.
going on with that?
It's a Nexus event.
And that was an MCU like reference.
Yeah.
That's like to me, that's an MCU reference.
Mm-hmm.
When Hank says in the next episode, I think, when they're reflecting back on what happened, so let's just finish 5. So Genosha, and Gambit's dead.
Yeah, huge
Magneto
master mold type.
Giant
I thought
sentinels.
Magneto was dead.
Gigantic sentinels.
Oh yeah, you've got Magneto.
You thought he was dead,
protecting Leech and some other
but
Omega level
mutants.
threat eliminated.
yeah, but not. What happened?
I would
totally
assume
lived.
I would assume that was like Bastion, like telling the thing to just hey, make everybody think he's dead. Because we see in the next episode he's been kidnapped.
And so this is episode 6, Life Death Part 2. And who's been kidnapped?
Magneto.
So he was kidnapped by Bastion. This is where we get he's tied up.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because
that's
he's
right,
he's the biggest threat.
That's what happened. He got kidnapped by Bastion.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah, huge sacrifice by Gambit.
And this is where we get the introduction to Bastion it's at the end of episode 5 or 6. Where he's in the room and he's like, I'm the one that's been doing it. I've got this Sentinel technology. Okay, and Storm battles the giant owl.
Yeah, the adversary, and this is episode 6 is the reintroduction, and we find out Professor X not dead.
That was episode 6.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So that's the episode where you get Ronan the Accuser, and they're out in space.
We get he's married Lilandra,
the sister
from the Shi'ar Empire.
Professor Xavier's old space lover helper.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a title.
And her sister, Lilandra's sister, was the one that had Ronan down on the ground and cut his face and was I'm shutting you down. This is like a Kree war with the people
The Shi'ar
Kree are fighting, right? Well, not the Kree, Ronan the Accusers.
Ronan the Accuser, yeah.
The Renegade, in my head. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, I miss my X-Men. He loves Lilandra. I want to go back.
And they offer to keep him there only
if he gives up his
if
memory.
he gives up all his memories of Earth,
including the X-Men.
Yeah.
But he won't. And he doesn't. And then he has the vision of Genosha. So he's like, I gotta go back.
Huge psychic implosion in his mind.
Yes, and he decides to go back, and then Storm gets her powers back.
Yeah,
she sees Genosha on the TV, and I think this is where Magneto does his thing. Not yet. I think one more.
No. Yeah, because he's been kidnapped.
Okay, let's talk about Bright Eyes, episode 7. Dude. Gambit's funeral.
Yep.
And they're all there.
Rogue doesn't show up.
Well, guess where she is? Let's just cut to it. Flying across the desert.
Yeah. Looking for a fight.
Finds a base. Who's in there? Thunderbolt Ross. Holy shit. He goes, this thing was built to hold the Hulk.
Yeah.
I was like, it sounds like Thunderbolt. This is I don't know if he was ever the original show. I don't know. Maybe. Probably, I'm sure.
Here
he is, though.
Yeah.
And she's like, tell me where to find
Gyrick.
Henry Gyrick.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Yep. We know this is his fault.
He did this. She's on a revenge path. Okay. I'm flashing forward to the end of this episode now. Fast forward, she's with the X-Men. They find Gyrick. She really questions him. He's like, I didn't do this. It's bigger than you think. There's someone bigger at play that's beyond me. And she has him at the edge of the building. It says, okay. I forget what she says. And just murders.
Just drops him.
Murder him.
Yeah.
And Morph's like, are we killers now?
Yeah. Well, then Logan was like, she was only doing what we all wanted to do anyway.
Yeah, what we were all thinking. And then
Legend.
he comes back, and he's a zombie-looking cyborg
Yeah.
from the future because of Bastion's technology. He's turned humans into ticking time bombs that can turn into the most powerful Sentinels ever.
Yep.
And I mean, he takes out Rogue, like, knocks her out with like one punch.
Human Sentinel hybrid. And then don't forget, Rogue also had a run-in with someone after talking to Ross, Captain America.
Oh my gosh! How can we forget this?
Yeah.
Cameo? Here he is. He was in the original show.
Yeah.
Teams up with Wolverine. Here he is. And like I love this version of like the Marvel universe where like Captain America's just like out in the 90s. Like,
Yeah.
he came out of whenever.
It's like,
And-
hey, you can't do this, Rogue. I'm not.
He's pro-government.
I want to help you, but I'm not sanctioned to I can't just show up in Mexico, with the stars and stripes. And
How?
and she's like, well, if you're not going to do anything, you don't need your little frisbee, and just tosses it into the distance.
So epic.
It's crazy because I mean I feel like that's just like a punch at like America
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah.
because Captain America I thought like would help.
Well, I mean, just like in Cap 3, he was anti-accords.
Yes, right.
It's
Yeah.
like, hey, we can't wait for governments to just let us come in. We need to do what we do.
Do what we need to do right now.
Yeah.
People need help right now.
Right.
Like Genosha was just blown up.
We can't wait for red tape.
Like what if the Avengers were all just killed in a day? Like he was just like,
Right.
Genosha Shashmosha.
Did you make that up ahead
Just
of time?
no.
Wow.
That was unproduced right now.
Well done.
That'll be a shirt as well as my dad's friend will be a shirt. All right. What happens at the end of of episode 7? I mean, this is where Magneto does this thing. This is where he's fed up. Like Genosha's been whipped out. Oh, and then
No, that
he
still
gets-
doesn't happen.
He kills.
He gets set free. He gets set free by the.
Bastion kills Gyrick.
Yeah,
At the end
of this
I believe.
episode.
Oh yeah.
In his sleep. Because that was after his.
Yeah, he was
after-
healing.
Yeah, like wakes him up.
For
That's-
basically
and this-
punishing him for releasing the information to Rogue.
This is where we find out it's Bastion. Episode 8, Tolerance is Extinction Part 1. This is where all the Sentinels get activated. That's what starts to happen at the end.
Yeah.
So at the end of episode 7, Gyrick got killed, and we were like, oh, we got a taste of this like human Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
Next episode, turn him on. Bastion
Yep.
turns him on. He's got Magneto held up, and there's the woman that is like visiting him
Mm-hmm.
that is looking up at Magneto and is like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Do you remember who that woman was that kept?
I don't remember her name.
Me neither. She was like a political figure, maybe like a UN representative or something. Like she was in on it from the whole get go with like Bastion.
Kind of, yeah.
So and then she had like starts to have second thoughts. But
Right.
we'll get to that. This is where we get Wolverine, in full on fight mode with Nightcrawler, and they're just like defending the mansion, and everybody's out fighting these things at different places. You get the family Summers team up with Jean and Scott and Cable like in the car being like, let's show them who the Summers are.
Yeah, they're in the Blackbird, and
And
they're
they're-
like,
yes.
oh, Hank is going to be pissed because this is the third one in as many months
Yes.
that we've destroyed.
Yes. That's right. And it gets real bad. Bastion's like, all his Sentinels are like, they're coming alive everywhere. Like families, living rooms, like everyone you could think of has become
Yeah.
a zombie Sentinel. And it's like, it's getting to the end where like nobody's winning. All the X-Men are starting to like there's too many of them. We can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magneto gets set free
Agent Cooper.
by Agent Cooper.
Dr. Cooper.
Who at Bastion's place, and he goes to the tip of the earth, and he lets out a giant ring of magnetism,
Yeah, an EMP.
an EMP around the whole world, and
Yep.
like reverses like the magnetic pull of the world to where like like you said, an EMP,
All the electronics
every electronic goes
Don't
down.
work. all the
everywhere.
Prime Sentinels.
This is where we got some of those
Done.
cameos.
Yeah. Yeah, we see Spider-Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Silver Samurai.
Silver Samurai.
Omega Red was in that.
Yeah, Omega Red was in some sort of stasis device that he got let out of.
Okay.
Oh,
and
that was the Doom.
Doom is
Doom.
He's like up on a screen, like there's villains talking to Bastion.
Yeah, and Zemo.
Zemo's up on the screen.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about those cameos. We're gonna do a whole cameo feature. And at the end of this episode, so he does this magnetic thing, everything goes down, and Logan says it. He's like, Magneto just waged war on the whole world. Where's Professor Xavier when you need him?
Yeah.
Literally, spaceship flies in,
crashes down.
Here he is. That's the end of episode 8.
Oh, a highlight from that episode. Wolverine going full Wolverine.
Full Wolverine.
With Nightcrawler.
Yes.
Joining with a sword in each hand and in his tail.
In his tail. He had 3 swords.
And we got some pretty good Nightcrawler bamfing in and out.
Yep.
Slicing and dicing.
Yep.
Like these Prime Sentinels, they don't go down easy.
And they keep coming back.
Yeah, they just keep reforming. So they're just going all out.
As hard as they can.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun for Wolverine, it seems
Oh,
like.
for sure.
And you get some classic, like, them defending the mansion type, like, hallway shots and stuff. Feels very, like, Bryan Singer films a little bit even.
Oh, yeah.
Episode 9. The episode part 2. Tolerance is Extinction, part 2. The X-Men work to settle the score before it is too late. This is a great opening. All the X-Men are like split up, and they're
just Magneto comes back.
He comes.
He pulls out Asteroid M.
He pulls it out
from the ocean.
Oh, yes, right.
And he's like, hey, he basically draws the line in the sand.
So Professor X is back. Scott yells at him for like leaving in the first place and all that. But yeah, that's where it all comes to a head. Professor X, Magneto in the sky. Magneto's pulled what'd you say he pulled out?
Asteroid M. Pulled it out of the ocean.
It was
a giant
in the ocean.
Ocean, yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yes,
right?
he
I
did.
remember coming out of the water.
And then he took that all back up into space.
Yeah.
And,
flying out
into
space.
Says, whoever's coming with me, Charles, we've done it your way long enough.
Yeah.
And it's not working. And Rogue goes with him, and so does Sunspot.
Yep. They got to regroup.
I mean, this is
back to the mansion.
I mean, this is this is huge.
Blue and gold teams.
Oh yeah. Let's regroup, and we're gonna take the fight to Magneto.
We got to take the fight. We got to fight on 2 fronts. We got to fight Magneto. We got to fight Sinister and Bastion.
Sinister and Bastion are teamed up. How are we gonna do this?
Yeah.
We'll split up into 2 teams.
The blue team and the gold team.
Who's on each team?
At least gold team. Gold team was on the ground.
Right.
That was Jean.
Yep.
And Cyclops and Cable and Beast.
Yep. And
then Storm and Forge.
Meanwhile, up in the sky fighting Magneto, you have Cyclops, Storm.
No, Cyclops and Professor X and Wolverine.
Oh, Wolverine.
Nightcrawler.
Yep.
And it's a crazy fight scene. It's like, and the goal is, get the helmet off of Magneto.
We've got to.
And Professor X will take over and reset the polarity so that
we've got to fix the Earth.
We got to fix the Earth no matter what.
Yeah. But we need you to take down Bastion before we reset the Earth.
And it doesn't go well.
So the Prime Sentinels don't come back online.
It starts going well. They bring the X-Jet in, and Storm and Forge are like doing their thing, and they're it's a lot of storm powers, and it's like, oh, they're doing pretty well, but they start to get kind of taken down one at a time. Mr. Sinister shows up, and Brain controls Cable, and
puts the little gem in his forehead.
And Cable's like, Cable's a full-on psychic.
Oh, for sure.
And that's like known
telepath, yeah.
But not really they don't really flex that a ton. Like,
well, the thing
in
with
the original show, he doesn't have psychic powers, does he?
Thing with Cable is he's using his powers all the time to keep that techno-organic virus at bay. So he can't really go all out all of the time, or the virus takes over.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah.
Did you?
That's rough. No.
I had no idea.
That sounds like it.
Oh, and he goes, and Jean's like, please stop, Nathan.
Yeah.
And he's like, my real mom was a level Omega 5, telepath or whatever he says, like the grade A. And it tends not to skip a generation.
Yeah.
And he blasts her, and Scott yells no. And I mean, I thought she was like obliterated.
Oh, she was.
But she was
dead.
But she's blasted into like classic, Jean Grey, like into the ravine.
Yeah.
I feel like
And into the water or ocean. It's the ocean. I think they're in the Galapagos Islands.
like, oh man,
taking a
good job,
bath.
Scott.
Yeah.
I was like, I had no idea where they were. Cool. What'd you say?
Just taking a bath.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just go take a bath, Jean. And
She sends a psychic message to
everybody
to Scott
because Bastion goes like full level.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This is it.
Yeah.
It's like he's leveling up, guys.
Like we can't handle this dude.
Meanwhile, Magneto fight doesn't go well. They get the helmet off of him. Professor X does take over, and it starts to happen. And then Wolverine puts his claws through his chest.
Yeah.
And whispers in his ear the line that Magneto said to him the first time they met in the original series. It says, "Been in a lot of wars, bub. The brave always die first."
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Magneto's like, "Oh God, like this is full anime."
And then, this really sets him off.
Oh, he sets
like
him
he's
off.
not dead.
He's not dead, and then
somehow,
and he's not dead. You're like, he's not. And he takes the metal helmet, puts it on Charles, covers Professor X's head with it, and like starts crushing it a little.
So he can't take it off.
So he can't take it off, and like he can't do any psychic while this thing's on, and he does the unthinkable straight out of the comic. Maybe you can name the comic
for sure. I can't name the comic.
Oh my gosh, he rips this. This is the thing we've all thought about forever. Is like Magneto, Wolverine. Like every time they fight, you're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, if you want that vision fulfilled, they did it. And I mean, I was uncomfortable. I was like, I don't know.
They didn't animate it. It was like a still.
Oh yeah, it was. A
they showed his veins kind of bubbling at first, and then they showed like a still image.
Yes,
I mean, ripped straight out of the comic book.
But they made it. They made it to where it like came out like kind of like in only 10 places or something.
Yeah,
like it kind of oozed out
like a fluid.
But he's messed up.
Oh, for sure.
Like that's how the show ends. That was the ending. And then the series finale, episode 10, Tolerance is Extinction Part 3, a classic X-Men trilogy ending. He's alive. Wolverine's alive.
Yeah, barely.
But he's barely. But like that's all it takes, right? That's the whole Logan thing. If he's barely alive, he'll be okay. But he'll just have his bones, his bony claws.
Yeah, bone claws.
He's back. All right, we're in the finale.
Yeah, Xavier takes control of Magneto.
Reverses the thing.
Gets him.
Sets them into a psychic coma of sorts. Both of them are out of commission. The lights are back on in the world, but those two are out of commission. Bastion has power again. He goes full. He's now full like Omega level threat. He's leveled up. He's got everything he needs. And it's the X-Men versus Bastion. While Professor Xavier and Magneto, this is the opening scene from the finale, are having this flashback moment, but they're in their own heads. So like really the first time they met, started to become friends and shared with each other that they were mutants for the first time, and trying to show the way that Professor Xavier phrases it to the X-Men is, because he does get out for a minute psychically, and he says like, I'm in here, I have to save Eric before his dark past takes over.
Yeah.
He needs to have like the good happen. This is like the kind of like a how to remember things, and like you have to like relive them in the right way, otherwise you're having like you could have like trauma, and if you have all the trauma up front, like with Magneto's powers, who knows what could happen. So they do really cool metaphors with like the sea and like the weight of like life against you, and like, the waters of
the dark waters.
Oh man,
they're so cold. And,
oh my gosh, and the lifeboat and the people that can help you, that are there when they need you. I thought that was super powerful. Like it makes me want to dive deeper into like where they were, the thinking behind that. It was really powerful. And while that's going on in their heads, the X-Men are out fighting Bastion, and it's just like a brutal fight to like, he heals himself. He's got these mega wings. He like I said, he's got like that Iron Man 2 symbol in his chest.
Yeah,
that's what I thought of.
The all the Sentinels come down, and they finally catch all of them.
Yeah.
Got them all wrapped up, and he's, of course, as any good villain, he's monologuing.
Yeah.
Just talking to him. You guys are such idiots. I was always going to win. Mutants have no future.
Yep.
And then what do you get? Erupting out of the water. The Phoenix.
He goes,
reborn.
He goes, why don't you ask my mom what? Because he says, Bastion says, I'll erase you all from history. No Phoenix, no whatever. He's like, Cable says, why don't you ask history what they say about my mom? And she's like, I'm the Phoenix. I take away all the things that you. She really messes up Sinister.
Yeah. I mean, we saw in the original series how Sinister got his powers.
I watched that episode.
By taking all the mutant DNA.
Yes.
And she just tears that all from his body. And so he ages instantly.
And he has morph. She's like, show me what I look like.
Yeah.
Morph's like, this is what you always look like to me.
Yeah.
So Phoenix is, Jean's okay.
She reforms the little head thing.
Yes.
That the dampener.
It dampens it,
and she puts it on Bastion.
This kills the connection to all the Sentinels out there. And this heals essentially like all the people.
For sure, yeah.
And he's like, what did you do? And he ends up breaking out of it. And this is where he levels up big time and gets his like mega suit.
He ripped off Cable's arm.
He rips off Cable's and beats him.
That's where and like
that's where he got. You're right.
Absorbs
he got the wings from the tech from Cable's arm.
Yeah.
Which
I mean,
he beat the man with his own arm.
Yeah, I don't ever remember this being an actual metal like Bucky arm. I'm almost 100% sure that they changed that for the show. And his arm looked metal because it was the techno-organic virus.
That's what I thought.
He was keeping it bay.
I didn't think it was a Bucky type arm.
No.
I thought it was like my arm grew like this.
Yeah.
So like that's
like I thought it was a skin condition.
Like I'm turning into a robot.
Yeah.
Slowly, But yeah, he's off hanging out.
Right.
He's off hanging out in a diner, and all the X-Men are up on the big ship. After the whole thing with Logan and Magneto and everything, and Jean's psychic's up there and says like, Bastion's coming for you right now, and he is future incarnate. Like he is unbeatable. Get ready. And he does. He blasts into this thing. Rogue's like even whenever the cards are against us, the odds are always on our favor. The X-Men's favor. That great line. And she takes the fight to him, and Rogue brings the heat. Ends up messing up his face, but heals right away.
Yeah.
You got Jubilee trying to do something. That's not working.
Jubilee and Robert.
Yes. Sunspot's trying to do his thing. Cyclops, we get a lot of the action from the first show with him doing the side-to-side stuff. And, Bastion ends up getting all the guns and doing it. And he's like, oh, you X-Men, you're toast. Here comes my family. A Sentinel comes through the sky. It's the X-Men.
Yeah.
And it crushes him. It's Beast and Storm. They've all made it in a Sentinel. But he's still okay. He lifts the foot right away. He's
holding it.
He's holding it up, and he's like,
Beast is trying to crank it down.
And they're all gearing up to fight. And Scott says, we're not going to fight. We're going to do this, what we've been telling humans to do forever. We're not going to fight. We're going to level and appreciate the future. Okay. Your mom did take you to Xavier. That's the whole thing, right? What's Bastion's backstory? He was a mutant. He was a kid. He had when he was in school, he was just like Henry Cavill in Superman, Man of Steel. The clock was ticking, and he just couldn't take anything.
Talks to machines. That was his power.
That was his thing. And, and he's always resented the X-Men and mutants, and that's why he's going for this total extinction thing. Okay, so that's Bastion's backstory. So Scott tries to appeal to his humanity, and he's like, your mom made a mistake. She should have given you to Charles.
Yeah.
You needed help. And it doesn't matter. As he's starting to lift the foot up and the stuff's going, he goes, it's too late.
Yeah.
The Magneto protocols.
Just when you think maybe they're getting to him.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Nukes. I don't know if they're not nukes.
I don't think they. Yeah, I think they were just.
I mean,
missiles.
if they wanted it to really explode, I don't know what did you hit it with?
Right.
Yeah.
Magneto protocols.
Yeah.
Kill all the mutants up there. Kill Bastion. Kill all the X-Men. We don't care. Captain America and Iron Man were in that room.
The Situation Room.
Yeah.
With the president.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was Cap and T'Chaka that were kind of against it.
Right. To
That's where I was kind of like, where?
Yeah, Cap was like,
breadcrumbs.
we don't know that this will actually do anything. This could actually not be a good thing.
Right.
Like,
and I mean, what are you guys doing? This is crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Like, these X-Men have helped you forever too. Like, it's
Yeah.
just insane. They just don't care.
Yeah.
And so they blow it up, and Asteroid M starts falling to Earth. And it's like, all right, X-Men, if we can all team up, we can do it. So let's do it. And they do. Like, Rogue gets underneath it. Storm and Jean do a mix of weather and psychic. Scott's blasting the thrusters, the engine to thrust. And then inside Magneto and Charles' head, Charles does get through to him. He reminds him who he is, and Magneto lives,
yes.
or whatever he says. And he's got like the Thor thunder eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just like full Magneto, and he starts to bring the whole place back up to space and help everybody out. The X-Men are like, all right, let's go.
Well,
let's go.
They don't think they're going to make it.
Oh, and during this time where they don't think they're going to make it, everyone's watching on the news back home like there's an asteroid coming.
Yeah.
Cameos.
Cameos, and then we get Forge is taking care of Cable still on the ground. He didn't ride up.
Right.
So, Cable is like, oh, I can't wait to go help, and not going to happen.
And he's in a
diner. We get the diner
and it's
scene.
Cyclops and Jean call, and they're, we're probably going to die.
Yeah, they get the psychic ghosts, like, sitting at the diner table.
I don't know if those were psychic ghosts or, like, a hologram. Like, I was struggling. I was like, this is got to be a psychic. And then he shows him his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Another classic morphing into Jean in front of Wolverine to, like, comfort him.
Yeah, well, I mean,
before
they leave.
You can pull through this, Logan.
Before they leave, like, Cyclops tells Logan, like, don't you break her heart.
Yeah.
Hold on for Jean.
Do what you do best. Heal.
Yeah, and then we have Morph take over and turns into Jean. Like, hey,
I love you.
I love you. Yeah.
And he breathes.
Yeah.
He's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
He's gonna be bony.
Beep, beep. Yeah.
He'll be
bony.
Fine. Yeah, that was it. And that's when Magneto wakes up, and it's like, oh, they're gonna be okay. We'll talk about the cameos in just a minute. We got a whole cameo screen, and boom, Asteroid M disappears right in front of our eyes, in front of the whole world's eyes. Exploded, disappeared, but looks like exploded.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, to me, it disappeared. Because, like, I'm like, they're not all dead. Like, I'm like, they're not all dead. What happened?
Yeah.
Yep.
What happened here? And who done it?
Yep.
Is really my biggest question.
Why did this happen?
Who did it? Do you know?
Who did it? I don't know who did it.
All right. This finale ends with, there's some end-credit scenes, and there's some big moments at the finale.
6 months.
6 months go by. 6 months later, X-Men are missing, presumed dead. Forge is looking for
we
him.
see Forge just in an office.
He's got a list of
bunch of photos.
Everyone's on this thing.
Deceased, unknown location.
Yes.
Some people are there, some people aren't.
Right. And I have a picture of this here.
Off-world. We see Scarlet Witch, off-world. Colossus. Nothing's wrong with him. Where was he?
Yeah.
Who knows?
He's just fine. Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah.
Where was he?
Right. There's a lot on
We
there,
needed help. He should have been on the team to fight Magneto.
He retired to spend time with his family.
Even Wanda is on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Who walks in? Bishop. Just nonchalant.
Hey, future best friend.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, who are you? Forge is like, who are you? He has a gun. And I'm like, look at your suits.
Right.
I'm like, he literally has an X on it, and it's blue and gold, just like yours.
You think they just hand those out to anybody? You think he even made that himself?
Yeah, who you working with? And he goes, the X-Men are dead, and Bishop, this is not the first time we're at the X-Men are dead.
Right.
And it's not a matter of where, it's a matter of when.
Mm-hmm.
Flash forward to, I don't think, like, there's only one end credit scene. It's just the one thing in the end credit scene. Like, in the actual show, we do find out right away where the X-Men are.
Yeah.
Flash 2,
Correct.
3,000 years ago, in Egypt.
Yeah.
In old Egypt. Cyclops. In old Egypt. Jean, Cyclops, Magneto, I'm sorry. That's the future. Jean and Cyclops went to the future.
Went to the future, yeah.
And they see this lady in the purple robe,
Mm-hmm.
3,000 years in the future. 3,000 years in the future. Who's that in the purple robe?
That is Mother Ascani.
Also, a.k.a. the daughter of Jean and Scott Summers.
Rachel Summers.
Rachel Summers.
Yeah.
But she's an old woman.
Old woman from another timeline, dimension.
They see Jean and Scott right in front of them. This like tribe of people, 3,000 years in the future. Out walks Nathan Summers.
Nathan, little Nathan.
Metal arm. How old is he? 15 here, right? And he goes, I don't sense any danger. I don't sense any danger. And like, these are your parents,
Mhm.
All right, so in the past, you have Beast carrying Professor X and Magneto, Rogue, Nightcrawler.
Yep.
And they're like, where are we? And it's old Egypt.
Yeah, you see these people fighting.
And you see
they're attacking this guy.
They're attacking this one guy, and Professor X uses his psychic ability to communicate. Magneto's like, don't fret, what's up? And he goes, what's your name? Go ahead, Scott.
Insabanur.
AKA
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. I had to call it out. Very reminiscent of the end credit scene of X-Men Days of Future Past, where they did this throwback, and it felt kind of just like this. So, you get this young Apocalypse. You get the classic blue Apocalypse, massive villain in the original series. Some of the best episodes and some of the best sagas that happened. They didn't, obviously this was Bastion, right? This was Mr. Sinister. We got some Master Mold. Now at the very end of the show, here he is finally, Apocalypse in the past. So 2 storylines. In the present, you got Forge and Bishop. They're going to be looking for these guys. And we've got the X-Men spread across time. And this is how the show ends before we get to our end credit scene, which might as well jump to it. End credit scene ties right to everything else. In the rubble of Genosha is a blue hand picking up a burnt up Queen of Hearts card, and we see his face, and it is Apocalypse. That you'll recognize from the original show, just how he looked, the big blue face, the giant blue body, and says something about when you play your odds, there's the chance of death or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
It's something about death is the last word he says. So like, to me, if you're familiar with the storylines and what they did even just in the original show, he has these 4 horsemen. The Angel of Death is one of them.
So much pain, so much death. That's what he said.
So much pain, so much death. And to me, this is like foreshadowing of like, maybe he brings back Gambit to become, the Angel of Death or one of his 4 horsemen. We know that they're pulling from a lot of different storylines, so the way that they go, I'm not sure. And the 3 of us have talked about it. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on that.
I mean, there's so many cool story arcs that this could be going forward from that. So I think it's a good tease, but without giving up too much.
I think this is going to be one of the, the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing, where they have gone back in time and now they're talking to young Apocalypse. Like, hey, we know this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He lives the entire thing. Maybe we can just tell him what happened.
Right.
And he can help us in the future and change time.
And now, a break. If you listen to the podcast, you know that before and after the show, when we're hungry or craving some beers or some live music, we usually end up at the Gramophone in the Grove here in St. Louis, Missouri. It's our spot for the best sandwiches in St. Louis, like the epic classic, The Jive, stacked with roasted turkey, thick-cut bacon, Swiss, lettuce, tomato, avocado spread, and pepper mayo on a toasted baguette. Don't skip the sides. Nothing beats Big Willie's homemade mac and cheese. It's the sidekick that never, ever lets you down. Plus, with daily specials, there's always something new to celebrate. So come join us at 4243 Manchester Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri, 63110 at The Gramophone, and tell them that Mostly Superheroes sent you. Visit www.gramophoneSTL.com for their full menu and more. The Gramophone, where heroes hang out. All right, back to the show. All right, so for the finale, we're talking about the end credits. Apocalypse is here. Scotty, we're getting into it. different timelines. The X-Men have been spread across. We've talked about where. What are we looking for now in season 2? Like, what are they setting up? Where's the story going to be going? And don't worry, we're still going to do that cameo highlight reel. We have a whole screen for that. We're going to talk through one by one, but I want to wrap up this finale of season 1. So, Scotty, what are they doing here?
Well, we're going to have 3 teams here. We got team past, we got team present, and we got team future.
Right. In team present, even there's going to be present, and there's going to be like miscellaneous time travel team, like Bishop and Forge.
Yeah, we got Bishop, we got Forge, we got Wolverine, we got Morph, we got anybody who was on the board who's not accounted for. You know, I see Warpath down there. We see Colossus
on the board. Of,
yeah,
like,
on the
people.
board behind Forge. You know, who do we have left to work with to create a team?
Okay. Yeah.
To time travel, basically.
Yeah, it's gonna be time travel. See, this is what me and you were talking about, Andy, before we started. Was like they could spend a whole season on this, but it's not typical X-Men fashion. You know, it's usually like a few episodes, right? Like they're gonna. I could see them wrapping up at the time travel stuff after the first like 3 or something.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's like now you're back to the present. I don't know, but like I've seen stuff online of people saying like, you know, some people are nervous about how complicated it can get, while I'm on the opposite end. I'm begging you, Marvel, bring the heat. Like, I want this to be like the craziest time travel stories, like you guys, like they did on the original show. Like they did a really good job. Like those actually line up when you watch all of those Cable episodes, Apocalypse episodes, Mr. Sinister. So yeah, I'm into this 3-team setup. What are you thinking, Giggler?
Oh, I'm the same way. I think that's going to be really cool storytelling for the whole next season. I really don't know. Like there's a lot of storylines that I was like excited to see go further into. Like, how does Rogue deal with the loss of Gambit, stuff like that. But like now, this kind of shakes everything up even more. So I really don't know what to expect. But honestly, that's what I'm excited for. I picked up some X-Men comics from Apotheosis recently, so I'll be catching up on a lot more backstory to be in the mix for season 2, whenever that comes out, whatever they call it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue to the themes and the storylines they're pulling from. Scott, you were telling us that they are pulling from just multiple storylines to where you don't, and then they're matching it up to create like a unique news story.
Yeah.
So we're hoping of like more of the same, which I think is cool. So where you can't like really, even as a deep diehard comic book fan, you can't really predict what will happen. And maybe they'll make it even, you know, more unique. We've heard, again, that season 2 is already in the works. So if it's, you know, just to me as a creator, if you're making this in close proximity, like the threads that you've seen here will be continued to be explored. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of things online about, tell me what you think about this, Scott. Like the stories really jumped. Like there's a lot of, there was a lot of story told in this first season. Like if you compare this to a comic run, like how many comics, you know, were in this? If you look at it that way, like how many issues did they skip past to get to from like Cable learning that the Summers are his parents? Not only that, but getting to the point where he gets his arm ripped off. And, you know, it's like that's got to be a long Cable storyline. And they were like, let's just push through and get to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to think like, where are they headed? It's got to be pretty far out there because this show felt like they were ready. Like the prep work on this, the detail to the stories and how fast they moved. Like, I'm not an avid comic reader, so I kind of look at you to be like, how do you feel about the pace of the show?
The pace, I think, was pretty fast. I'm okay with it because I think they made it work. I'm just a little worried about them pulling too much and not having a well to go to whenever they start running out of stuff.
Right. Does some of this feel shallow when you look back if you don't have enough like story to?
Yeah. Or can someone really create new stuff instead of having to go back to the well?
Right.
And continue to pull out old stuff? Because I mean, they ran through 20 years of comic books in like one season. It feels like.
Okay. That's what it feels like.
You know, and now they've got, you know, all this. Most of the stuff they pulled from was all pre-2000, obviously. So now they've got another 25 years of stories, and there's a lot of stories to pull from. But, you know, how many liberties do they take and do the same thing and just pluck things from different stories, and then you're kind of left with good stuff, but it's just a pile of stuff that might not make sense anymore for you to go back to, since you've already pulled so many elements out.
Yeah, because like that's kind of how I feel right now. Is how do you follow up to this season?
Yeah.
Do you continue the threads that like you've pulled on, that like you said, Andy, wanting to see Rogue, processing the loss of Gambit, but like maybe this show moves at such this crazy like 90s cartoon style pace that like you never like, I mean, I don't, it's kind of weird, right?
You get an episode and then it's you kind of move on. Does she deal with it in an episode?
She dealt with it in every episode since, and she dealt with it 5 episodes straight, and like all the way from not attending the funeral to dealing with the grief like at the end of that episode, and then to talking about it with the other X-Men, and then even in the finale saying to Scott, who was ready to sacrifice himself to blow up Asteroid M, she says, Gambit lived so that we died so that we could live. Like she's showing you how to grieve.
Yeah,
it might feel fast, but that's because there's only 10 episodes.
Right.
All right, season 2. Sure. Let's keep it moving. And plus, if Remy becomes like a comeback ghost thing,
then it's
who knows?
Right. Well, then how do we turn him back to his regular self?
She's already flipped sides once. What if she becomes tempted to be a horseman herself, to be back with him? That'd be a crazy storyline.
That seems similar to the Silver Surfer, Shala Bal.
Yeah, like
becoming. I feel like she's going to become a Silver Surfer in the MCU to like find her. She's like looking for her man. I feel like that's like what's going to happen. I feel like that's what like a similar storyline right here in X-Men. But
that's cool.
That's a tangent. So talking about the time travel in X-Men, because that's where I feel like X-Men has always proven that what you do in the past, like their time travel rules are very different than what you've seen like in the MCU. Like the timeline does change, and based on what you do in the past, like that dictates the future.
Yeah, it's happened several times in the original series.
Like just reset.
Bishop will go back and fix something and come back to a future, and Forge is like, what are you talking about? That was never our problem. And he's like, what? It was the whole reason why I went back to fix in the first place, and now I come back and you tell me there's another problem?
I love that in the original series. It was Bishop and his sister. It was like his sister with the short hair. Like, I don't know if she even made an appearance.
I don't remember.
It was like they were a duo. Like they were the ones that like had the time travel station, and like that's where they would send Bishop back and be like, hey, there's some, you got to go back to the 90s and see the X-Men. And he's like, oh, again,
these guys.
Speaking of the time travel, we did get an MCU reference. We talked about this a little bit in the Patron pre-show. Bringing it back to the forward now was that an absolute point in time,
a nexus
event. What am I talking about? Genosha, where they introduced Cable in X-Men 97. He's running in, he's trying to save everybody, and literally, like as he's telling people, time rips him out. Like it's just like he can't stay. What similar points, things we've seen. We saw this in What If.
Yeah, What If with Doctor Strange.
With Doctor Strange, he just couldn't change that point.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
And we get that conversation with Cable and Bishop and Mr. Sinister. Like, how many times did you go back and try and stop this? And it's 200.
200 times.
Yeah. 200 times.
Yeah. And my question becomes, all right, well then can Gambit maybe come back to life? Like maybe there's a version where like they reset, they go back, because that's what always would happen to these shows. They'd eventually
life finds a way,
and it resets to a certain point. But like I don't know, maybe this show just has a good ass time.
Well,
because to me, like I mean, when you start showing me characters like Ronan the Accuser, and you're out in space. I mean, here you go. You're talking to me.
There's like, a lot of stuff going on.
I mean,
there's a universe.
I mean, we're just on the cusp of this cameo slide. Anything else on the story that we think that we should look forward to? Character-based stuff. Storm got her powers back. Jean and Scott are in the future with their son. Professor X and Magneto and Nightcrawler and Rogue are in the past with Apocalypse. Present-day Apocalypse is doing stuff. Maybe bringing back Gambit. Maybe making us 4 Horsemen.
Was Jubilee with them in the past?
Jubilee
and Roberto?
Okay, Jubilee and Sunspot are on Earth. All right, guys, that's the show. Let's talk about the cameos. This is really fun. We got a good slide for this. The cameos in X-Men 97. Look at your screen. This is it. Let's just go all over the board. This is from the finale mixed with just the rest of the show. So we've already kind of talked about the story and where a lot of these fell in. So now it's just kind of like, who was in it? Doctor Strange doing surgery as Doctor Strange.
By floating candlelight.
He's got floating candle. He's got okay, here's another MCU thing to me. That's like the first of all, Beast mentions the Karmatage and references how they reference the absolute point in time. And then Doctor Strange here is using that looks just straight out of the movies, how the magic looks. All right, Scott, we got some familiar faces mixed with some not so familiar faces to me. So I got Daredevil. Oh my gosh, that was so cool. Daredevil's in the show. And then Cloak
and Dagger.
Okay, and then who's the red, green?
We got Crimson Dynamo and Darkstar and Omega Red, all Russian heroes and villains.
Very cool. Do you think that means anything, or are these just like a straight up cameo?
I think this is just straight up cameo.
All right.
Omega Red, classic Wolverine villain.
We'll save some of the ones that we think mean something toward the end. So we got Thunderbolt Ross. We also got some Morph cameos, like the Incredible Hulk. Yeah, that was awesome. Fantastic Four, Reed Richards from Morph. Who's the Green Pterodactyl again?
That is Sauron.
From the
Savage Land.
From the Savage Land, you'll remember from the original series. How about Captain America with Rogue, and also Captain America with Iron Man in the Situation Room? That was huge. And I mean, you agree? This is Tony Stark.
Amazing.
Steve Rogers.
That was like in the first 5 minutes of the finale too. They just threw that right in there.
You're like, oh my gosh. Ronan the Accuser, we mentioned. Black Panther, T'Challa.
T'Chaka.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish.
T'Challa's dad.
I wish. All right, who are the ones in the bottom left there? Purple hair?
We got Psylocke, and then we've got some members of Alpha Flight, North Star, Aurora, and then we got Puck down there, a little tiny guy, and Cypher.
And then we also got Victor Von Doom. Dude, that one got me pumped up.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then let's talk about the one that we're all like, Silver Samurai, we mentioned. Oh, we didn't mention Baron Zemo. That was pretty cool. We did earlier, but here in the cameo segment. And last but certainly not least, because this is the one that's like pulling on a thread, right? Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
The animated series. There was questions. Is it the same one? Oh, it definitely is, because when we get this Peter Parker cameo with Mary Jane and Flash Thompson, that's him. That's the Peter Parker. The jacket, the classic shirt, the hair. I mean, that's him from the show. The guy that voices him has tweeted and said, like, no one's approached me. I don't know about this show, but Marvel, being Marvel, is like doing whatever they want here. And, there's been ask for Spider-Man 98, because I think Spider-Man 90 ended in 97, where that storyline where he couldn't find Mary Jane, here she is. Is that the Mary Jane he found? Is that what is this?
Is it a clone?
Exactly. Right. Is that Madeline Pryor?
Madam Web?
Madam Web. Oh my gosh. So yeah, do I want it? Yes. Let's talk about it. I mean, Spider-Man freshman year was this Marvel Spider-Man show that might still be happening. Now we might be getting, Scott said it when we first started talking about the show. What else are they going to reboot? I mean, there's an Incredible Hulk show that's not very good. But they bring the Hulk into this. They got Spider-Man. They got the Avengers in the show. They've got Ronan the Accuser. Like, I was waiting for the Guardians of the Galaxy to show up. But, like, this is just, it's too fun. Any thoughts on the Spider-Man?
Well, it would be weird to have two Spider-Men animated at the same time. I don't know what their plans are with the freshman year show, if it's going to be more than one season.
Yeah.
If it's called freshman year, it would make sense.
What's interesting?
Then have sophomore year maybe next. Just guessing, but I don't know.
That's a good point, Andy, because also, like, I guess they would have had to have gotten the rights from Sony to do this.
No. That is not correct.
Because this
live action only.
So that's a live action agreement only, and this Marvel series has
they can do whatever they want, and they have with animation
with every character essentially.
Everybody.
Yeah, this show won those rights. They run the rights back here with like the Disney deal or something.
Yes.
I forget the details.
Yeah,
but that was a big deal. They got all their characters in animated town.
Wow. Also, this isn't even breaking news, but your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Per a Yahoo article that I'm reading right now from December of 2023. I totally missed that.
Yeah, did not pick that up.
It's felt like it's almost happening for so long.
I've kind of just forgotten about it.
What about that Daredevil cameo?
Yeah. I mean,
oh my gosh,
so many faces.
It makes me
seen.
Beautiful.
It's like, was he in the original show?
I don't remember him being in the original show.
Me neither.
You know, we did have, back when the show was happening, it did tie into other shows. There was an Iron Man show, I do believe.
Yeah.
There was the Silver Surfer show. I don't remember a Fantastic Four show.
I mean, Silver Surfer.
Well, the fact that they just showed in that presentation the other day how they were delineating between the television, movies, and animated.
Right.
And also they said that they're going to focus on 3 movies and 2 shows per year. Does the shows include animated? I'd like them to have plenty of animated shows ongoing. I think they can do that with what they're doing right now.
There's a massive cameo that I forgot to mention. You remember which one?
Let me think.
Massive. That I think foreshadows a lot of their plans. The Watcher.
Oh yeah, that's right. During the Genosha.
The Genosha episode, he's up in the sky.
Which really tells you again, Nexus event, the Watcher's watching.
Yep.
He's seeing those big events.
He knows this is a big time.
Yeah.
He's like this. He would be like, this is a sad day.
Yeah.
And I mean, that just shows me, what if? I'm sorry. They'll do whatever. And Marvel knows how to connect these dots. All right, that's the cameos. X-Men 97 finale and credits we talked about. We can't wait for season 2. It's going to be happening. This has been a jam-packed episode on X-Men 97. We hope you appreciate it. You can find all the details, all the links of everything. We've been sourced a lot of help from comicbook.com, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, Screen Rant, and beyond. A lot of other folks too. A lot of links at mostlysuperheroes.com on our X-Men page, along with the images and resources that we pull up today. So if you're like, I just want to see all the cameos in one place, we did that. You want to see some snapshots of the finale and end credit, we did it. It's all up at mostlysuperheroes.com. All right, let's talk about what's next for X-Men 97.
News and rumors.
All right, so just a few headlines. They got some toys out there from Hasbro. Check them out. There also is going to be a season 2. We've learned that it's already been written, and I believe from the Hindustan Times, I read this article. I thought it said it's already in production. So it's made, it's written. We want this quickly. We'll see.
They would be foolish to not be capitalizing on this as soon as possible.
Yes, and we know that the creator, Beau DeMayo, got fired from the show, but will he be back? We don't know. More to come on this mysterious firing. There was the Airbnb X-Men 97 mansion that Andy has actually tried to book, so we'll see if that happens. Brandon Davis from comicbook.com was there. I got to watch the finale there. It looked pretty cool. You can follow him on Instagram. And then, a lot of help from Marvel.com, Variety, the New York Times, /Films, and the Hollywood Reporter. So, a lot of people out there talking about it. Like you said, Scott, capitalizing across the board on X-Men 97.
Yeah.
Personally, as much as I love this show, I love it so much. Let's go ahead and do roundtable ratings, talk about what we felt about it, any themes that came and broke through for each of us. And we'll start with myself. So I already gave that 4.0 rating at the very beginning of the episode. Holds true. I want that mug. I want that X-Men mug that Cyclops and Magneto are drinking out of in the X Mansion. I'm like, what a moment. Scott and Magneto having a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And it just has that big red X on it. So, yeah, merch-wise, that's what I'm looking for. But I really do think that the series really was a culmination of a lot of things made for adults. They brought the adult themes and the huge episodes, the mind-blowing Remember It episode and the sexual tension between Gambit and Magneto and Rogue. These are things that stick out to me. And then also really always being true to that tolerance discussion about mutants and really just any group of people that aren't accepted, and the slow road to tolerance is extinction are the titles of the last 3 episodes. And there's a lot of dialogue that's written in here about what tolerance is and the being amenable and saying like we can do this equally, but not really getting the fair end of the deal and knowing that you're not, and doing that over and over, and being given something and saying like, okay, you got what you needed, now be quiet about it. And then something like the X-Men, Genosha happens right when you're told to your face like everything's good, and that agent Cooper,
Dr.
Cooper.
Dr. Cooper.
She said, she's like, I had one thought in my head when that happened, and it was Magneto is right. And that's just, you might be hearing this a thing a lot where you hear this Magneto is right. And yeah, we are a bunch of comic book fans that are like playing into these storylines, but we're also feeling like this greater message of, Magneto is the product, the byproduct of years of being told no and being told that you are part of the discussion, but then you're actually not. And not only that, but you're attacking me. Magneto is like the byproduct of that. So I thought that the team on this nailed it. I thought that this show has deep roots, and they do bring it back to a lot of the original stuff, but they did write 10, I think, beautiful episodes that we haven't even begun to unravel the writing of the show, I don't think. And a lot of the things at play that talk about the people in our country, from a time in the 90s that feels way more relevant to now than ever too, where you're like, this feels like that they're talking about right now. It totally does. Gives me thoughts of The Boys, how good the writing is. And this is an animated cartoon, so X-Men 97, man, I'm pumped. I loved it. It was beautiful. Let's go this way this time. Giggler, you're up.
All right. Man, you said so many great things there that I agree with, and I'll start with that rating that I will match. That's a 4.0. I mean, this is everything that I wanted as a 90s kid. Like, was so excited for the show, and the bar was so high, and they did exactly what they needed to and got extremely aggressive with the pace. And I think that's what made, like, probably separated this from the other seasons to me. I feel like there's zero filler in here. Like, it was deep. Like, every conversation was important to the overall arc of the season. Like, there was episodes that afterwards I'd just be staring at the credits, just like reminding myself, like, holy shit, this is a cartoon. Like, they really said, like, this isn't for kids. Like, this is for the kids that grew up watching this show. And that's what made this the biggest home run for sure. Like, it's extremely rewatchable. I would watch it on Wednesday. I just woke up at 4 a.m. to watch the finale. Like, I love sleep more than anything. So
you couldn't help it.
Yeah, like, I just couldn't. I woke up, went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, thought about it, and I was like, oh my God, it's out.
Oh my God,
I could do this.
That's a real fan experience right there. I watched it first thing with my coffee, first thing
Yeah,
Wednesday morning.
Yeah. I think, like, there's just they really knocked it out of the park. Like, I don't know a lot about the backstories and, like, the stories that they intertwine with this, so I'm for sure gonna start rewatching all the original seasons, like many people are, and just kind of starting there, and then I'll read some books and let's go. I'm all in on the X-Men now. It was kind of mid-level for me, like, versus like the Avengers and like DC stuff, but damn, this season really kind of catapulted that up to the top for me right now.
They're back.
They are.
Fair share, my friend. Scotty Scoop.
The time is now. It's X-Men, the year of X-Men. There's going to be no getting away from it. You got Deadpool and Wolverine.
I know.
You got X-Men 97. They're doing a bunch of reboot stuff in the comic books. Man, this was just, it was so good. My expectations were at the original X-Men, which was good when you look back with your rose-colored glasses and say, oh, nostalgia-wise, I remember it. It was awesome. And then you go watch it, and it's kind of like, man, it's good, but it's dated for sure. Like, how good could X-Men 97 really be?
Mm-hmm.
And then they did exactly what you said. They made a show for the kids who watched the show when they were young.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a kid's show now. They've really gone past what it was. They, like I said before, they've taken bits and pieces of so many different storylines, and they've constructed a masterpiece. Obviously, a 4 for me. This is perfect. How do they make it better? How can it ever be this good? Can they really do it again? Is our bar going to be too high after watching this?
It is very good. You know what I've realized it's tapped into? The feeling I feel most is scorned and fed up. Like, look at this picture of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Like, that was like this overarching theme that just kept coming through that like would make me feel like you're tapping into something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like they're fed up with like the nonsense. They gripe about like how many adventures it's taken and how many times they've been through this battle. And they're just looking at like, you know, and they're strong characters that you said it, Andy, the dialogue, they had the real character arcs in this.
Yeah.
So anyway, keep going.
No, I mean, it's just
how are they going to top it? Is where
it's
you left
yeah.
it.
How are they
going to top it?
How are they really going to be this good? You know, you just think of some of your best favorite television, and you're like, oh, season 1 of Lost, was it ever really that good again?
Yeah, and it is. And the more you watch it, the better it gets. And I'm wondering, will this be the same? Because I really feel that way about Lost.
But like it's very rare.
It is rare, and it's unique for
you know, like I don't know. I don't know if anybody watched Heroes.
Yeah,
season 1 of Heroes.
Yeah,
is just so good.
It's coming back.
And then it's
coming back.
Finally got like maybe season 2 and season 3 were good, but it was never
3 was bad.
It was never season 1.
No, actually 3 was okay. I think 4 was horrible.
Oh, 4 was bad, and then they tried to reboot it like
4 was the one
6
where
years ago.
She was at the circus all season.
Yeah.
I stopped before that. I think I got to 2.
You're lucky.
It's season 1 and 2. It's fine to just stop there.
She was at the circus, and the main bad guy like could control like dirt. It was really bad.
It was.
Yeah.
If that show was better, we could have just renamed our show Mostly Heroes. We just talk about.
They could have had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I do the same thing, Scott, because I'm like, oh, it's so good. And, like, I just feel like I feel the same as I've always felt. This is, like, why we have this podcast. I'm, like, screaming from the rooftops that this is really good. And maybe, I have a recency bias. So, like, I do want to rewatch it. And I do want to sit with it. Because part of me does feel like it peaked, and then it kind of, like, stayed at a peak. And the finale I was blown away by, but I wasn't, I don't know. I wasn't as crazy as I was and remember it. And, like, I don't know, like, am I already picking it apart? Like, where it's just like, but that's just like a pacing thing. That's just kind of like a big moment thing. Cause like, you can't really get past like how crazy that scene was with Rogue and Gambit and Magneto going against that mega signal.
Right. And then the scene with
like, that should have been like the end.
Right. Yeah. Like they could have ended this season there, or they could have done like Invincible and split this into 2 parts.
Yeah.
And they have the first 5 episodes, and then in 3 months,
and then if
you get the next 5 episodes.
And then if I compare this show to like Invincible and then like The Boys, like it got like, honestly, like those shows get so hard where like gory, where I'm like, I don't know if I need all of it.
Mm-hmm.
This show I liked because they weren't afraid to get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
But they didn't like, it wasn't,
they didn't overdo it.
They didn't.
Yeah.
And it's, it's a little softer. So maybe
it wasn't over the top.
Right. But when I compare it to like a show like Lost or Breaking Bad, I'm like, this is a 10-part. I mean, if you're a Marvel fan, you're going to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the cameos alone are just worth it, but I don't know, that can wear off, It's like, does this story hold up?
Yeah.
So far, to me, if you're asking me right now, we're all giving this 4.0s. We'll say yes. And we'll see.
This is going to stand the test of time.
I think it will.
For sure.
And then, like, it's all about what's next.
Yeah.
It's all about what's next.
Can they keep it up?
Yep. Last call on X-Men 97. Anything that you came in to share or about this show today before we talk about what's coming up?
Apocalypse. I'm ready.
Yeah, they're gonna pick the slow time traveler.
And that's Apocalypse.
Because he time travels just like everybody else does. He just exists.
He's like, I'll just wait.
He's got to live the 3,000 years and then help you.
Yeah, we're gonna get This Is Us, but Apocalypse.
Right. Like he's going to show up he's going to show up in the year now, or,
Right.
97, and tell Forge and Bishop, oh, yeah, your X-Men friends, I saw him 3,000 years ago in Egypt, so if you just want to pop back there, you could probably grab him.
He's like, if I see him in the future, I'll send him
Right.
back your way. Yeah, I'm pumped for that. Time travel is like my favorite thing. They're not afraid to bring in the other characters, and they bring in this other Spider-Man. I mean, Fantastic Four even.
Fantastic Four,
that was cool. You had Reed Richards. I was like, were they in the show? I don't think they were ever in the show.
I don't remember them ever being in the show.
All right, Marvel. Mostly superheroes are fans. We want more.
Yeah.
We're here for it.
Give us more. Bring us into the writing room. We can help you sort some of this stuff out.
We're fine.
Yeah.
We're fine.
I mean, there's an opening, obviously.
Yeah, more to come with the maker of the show. Like, we'll see.
Yeah.
And it's like this one name. It's, you normally hear like, oh, it was these 5, right? It's like this one name.
One guy.
Yeah.
That can't be this one guy. Like, it can't be.
Yeah, was one guy responsible for this masterpiece?
You can't.
And do you just leave him on the sidelines after? I mean, look up the Rotten Tomatoes
Did
score
he write
on
this script? Is that what? Like,
yeah,
he was
the head writer.
He was
the
really
head-
entertaining, tweeting along with the season, like giving people like homework before each episode.
Yeah.
Like,
Go
saying,
watch
is what
this,
you guys
or
should-"
you should know about
Yeah,
this.
that was pretty cool. I thought that was awesome. For
I
somebody
mean,
to still be involved like after that happened. But that makes that he really
he's like, check out my
is in love
OnlyFans
with this project. Yeah.
I mean, you look at the reviews on any of the post Infinity War Marvel stuff, and you're 60%, 70%, 50%. I think this is like one of the most universally loved properties since Infinity War ended.
Yeah, and what do you do with it now?
Right. How do you capitalize on this? You've brought the fandom together.
And
like, I don't see anybody.
And we're all just standing like up, like going, like waiting. Like,
yeah.
What's it going to be?
What can you do?
They're like, it's only been a day.
Right. Like, you've gotten the ball rolling now.
Well, some people are like, is this going to cross over with live action? I think
I see a lot of people saying like the
That's just
Wolverine.
to me,
that
that's
needs
just,
to-
that's just
I
a
don't think that
broad.
needs
That's
to
too
happen.
broad.
Yeah.
Like, I want to, like, we're smart enough to know that, like, this felt so good. There definitely is easy tie-ins to What If. Like, popping across universes and stuff is not hard. Like, they could do whatever they wanted. So yeah, like, that's the low-hanging fruit. Animated to animated, then live action. Okay.
Well, if you
And then I
remember
heard-
from what was the Doctor Strange, they flipped into an animated universe.
Exactly. We talked about that with, I think it was Stephen Walden or one of our guests lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they've already crossed in, like they were a cartoon. Like
Yeah.
that was it. It was like, okay, like it's that easy. And What If like clearly states like this is other universes. Like animated is just like the medium of like what you're seeing it.
Mhm.
Like these are other universes, And then I heard that like Deadpool was off limits for this show from like probably like a Disney standpoint.
Probably.
makes sense.
Like
Too soon.
too
Yeah.
soon because
They're too close.
They don't
Got
want to
too
step
soon.
on each other's toes.
And what are they gonna do too? But I mean, but I don't know. But you got this Wolverine. Like you had this Wolverine, but like they made this show a couple years ago.
They've been working on it for 2 years. I
right.
think.
Like maybe didn't realize that Logan was gonna be in it, but like that's like the proximity of Deadpool and Wolverine to this
Mhm.
show is like, how am I not gonna like? I've been Logan for Wolverine a couple times. This is the year again. I might have to. Like we should all be X-Men for Halloween.
I'm in.
All right.
I'm in. I'll be Morph.
Did you already have a costume?
I'll
Did
have
you guys
10,
already
I'll
have
have
costumes?
10 costumes.
Yeah, I already got my costume.
I knew it.
God
I saw
dang
your
it.
face. I was like, I could tell that he already had something picked.
No, I didn't.
All right. I think it's the best comic book adaptation, but I don't read a ton of comic books, so that's probably not fair coming from me.
It's
but
a lot of adaptation.
But in the year, for just the year, well, how do you feel about that claim, Scotty?
Man, I'm really on the fence. I love Invincible so much,
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were going to be.
That's good.
and it's
debating.
Well,
it's
this is
really
it's like a top list for the listener. right
it's
now.
a different adaptation.
Yeah.
This one has just pulled from so many different stories, and Invincible is almost a panel for panel recreation of the comic. They're not changing almost anything
Yeah.
in that. So I mean,
It's different. Totally
it's
different.
different.
I love that too, because man, now you got me thinking about each individual episode of this X-Men 97 show. How good is it?
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like you watch that Madeline Pryor, Mr. Sinister episode. you're gonna have a great time.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a great time.
Every episode.
Madeline Pryor versus Magneto.
Yeah. I mean, the Mojo one was good, but I think that'd probably be at the bottom.
I just was thinking the
I
same
liked
thing.
it.
The bottom of the list.
Yeah, it seemed like almost
simply
like an
because
homage.
it was just a, kind of an aside.
Yes.
To everything. You got a little bit of Storm trying to figure out her stuff.
Just like the real Mojo
then,
episodes from the last one.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
They were just segues.
Right. X-Men 97.
Roadhouse.
Watch it.
X-Men 97. Watch it. Watch it.
Watch it, bub.
Roadhouse 2 recently announced.
Yes.
Congratulations. All right, let's look at what's coming up. Lots happened on the show. Jenna Anderson's coming on the podcast to talk about all the MCU, Marvel, comics, TV, movie. Deadpool, Wolverine for sure will be about a month before. It'll be after she comes in, but we'll prep for the movie with Jenna. And I've given her a heads up, too, that another episode, I'm going to skip right ahead to this one, is the MCU itself. Really looking to do what we did for Star Wars, a resource for people that are looking to get familiar with the franchise in a easy way with some images, a podcast, a landing page on our website. The MCU is going to get the same treatment. And honestly, Star Wars is probably my practice round. And Carrie helped out with that one with some graphics, so I'll be bringing her in because guess what? There's a stack of books right there on the table. Every single one of those is a Marvel book. We have the MCU, the Reign of Marvel Studios, the Marvel book, Marvel Universe map, the anatomy of Marvel Studios characters, the Marvel MCU timeline book, and the top 100 comics that influenced the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've already read most of these books. I'm going to read the rest of them, bring the knowledge again back to the podcast, and it's going to be way trickier because there's not just a single timeline. There's the multiverses.
There's so much stuff.
There's Loki. There's the time, like being out in the middle of nowhere time.
Well, I mean, you're talking,
there's X-Men.
11 Star Wars movies?
Yeah.
And maybe the same amount of TV shows?
Yes.
And now we're looking at, what, like triple that?
At least. I mean quadruple, honestly. With everything, it's at least 4 times the size, I think. And then you're right. I mean, not counting books and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because even then, if you're counting books, Marvel's up there. Are you kidding me?
The last 65 years.
So what's going to come out of the episode? It will be similar. Some images, some visuals, some graphics. We will do a watch order for sure, kind of like a timeline watch order, to where it's like this is what we'd say to watch, and throw up all the posters just like we did for Star Wars. And maybe like some other watch orders. Like I think there's a lot out there, and we're not going to recreate the wheel. Disney Plus has really thought through a lot of this. They have character watches, they have timeline watches. Like it's going to be a lot of what informs it, but it's going to be a reason and excuse for all of us to nerd out about it. And this also ties to, for the first time, we're considering, and we've been asked to do some live events. So we don't know exactly what that's going to entail, but it could be trivia, prizes, seeing us in person. And I think that the MCU/Marvel will be a great first topic category for something like that. So this MCU episode is a little bit out in the future. It's going to be a lot of research, a lot of work putting it all together. Just like with Star Wars, we want to build a resource that can last the test of time. So it'll be everything from Captain America, the first Avenger, even from timeline wise, like Captain Marvel, like taking place in the 90s, and working your way all the way to Deadpool and Wolverine. All right, that's a 2024 film, so that's where we are present day. That's going to be a nice timestamp for anybody that's trying to get in touch with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and maybe start watching some Marvel stuff on Disney Plus or at home. We're going to help some fans get in touch with the franchise. Questions, thoughts, ideas? Excited for Jenna to weigh in from Phase Zero, of course. She's like a subject matter expert. So, I mean, they've already done a lot of different style stuff like this, so she'll definitely have an opinion on it and maybe give us a little bit of secret sauce to give most of these superheroes its chance to make something for Marvel fans.
Oh, yeah. Excited to have her. That's going to be awesome.
MCU.
All right, guys, that's the show. Mostly Superheroes. Check us out at mostlysuperheroes.com. Final thoughts, Andy the Giggler. How was your night, sir?
Man, that was great. Everybody look forward to the next newsletter that's coming out. Honestly, the next few months of TV, like summer, like blockbuster movies ready to be coming out, as well as like shows like
Hot D.
Yeah, exactly. Like House of Dragons, June 16th, The Boys, June 13th. Acolyte June 4th, and The Bear June 27th.
That's some premier television.
I'm at a point right now. The last week, I've actually me and Steph have like sitting in front of the TV, like we have nothing to watch. Like we've been like stuck in a rut and haven't had anything and haven't been able to figure anything out. And I'm like, just wait. We'll be feasting.
Yeah, you're like, I'm just watching X-Men 97 over and over and over.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's not going to stop.
Yeah.
Scotty Scoop.
Yeah, this was a fun time. And it really just makes me want to go back home and start X-Men 97 all over again.
Fire it up.
10 episodes.
Fire it up.
That's what? 6 hours?
That's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quick.
Yeah, I've got the rest of the night.
Maybe you skip the intros.
No, you don't skip the intro. Look at this guy.
The recap.
No, every time. I'm like, bop, bop, bop.
I like the beginning where they show that Marvel animation slide first, and it's like, I just feel like that's going to be the beginning of all of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, super excited.
All right, crew. We'll see you next time on Mostly Superheroes. Thanks for tuning in to this indie podcast. We'll see you at mostlysuperheroes.com, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy. Mostly Superheroes is proud to be funded in part by our sponsors. Mostly Superheroes is funded in part by paying patrons who receive early, ad-free, and exclusive episodes. Subscribe at mostlysuperheroes.com/support. Thank you for supporting your favorite independent podcast. Mostly Superheroes is an independent podcast owned and operated by Kerrigan Ventures in St. Louis, Missouri. Hosted by Logan Janis, Andy Hunn, and Scott Swearingen. Brand and creative by Carrie Clark Design. Music by Audionautics. Learn more at audionautics.com. Find more at mostlysuperheroes.com.